morning, USA. I am Destiny Charles.
And I'm Dejay Hughes.
It is now the 7th hour of February 10th, and boy, do we have some news for you. Don't we, Dejay?
Oh, yes, we do. Today we'll be talking about all the good and all the ugly that will be occurring in America. To start off, we'll have taxing and spending.
The government's taxing and spending decisions are not perceived to be the smartest. With Ronald Reagan enforcing a program of tax cuts and releasing military spending, the deficit is swelling to $221 million, more than 22% of federal spending. The goal of fiscal policy, which is the means by which a government adjusts its spending levels and tax rates to monitor and influence a nation's economy, is to reduce the deficit. There is little need for government policies to enhance growth, with new technology and foreign trade opportunities becoming more common.
I wonder what this may do to jobs.
After the commercial break, we will have the answer to your question, Dejay, and talk about what happened on March 30th, 1981.
Taco Bell put 40 bites in this plate of Nachos Bel Grande. Each one delicious. Each one different. And once you taste them,
Gotcha.
with tasty pinto beans and cheddar cheese sauce,
Gotcha.
with seasoned ground beef and those incredible chips,
Gotcha.
with juicy ripe tomatoes and cool sour cream.
Gotcha. Gotcha nachos, Bel Grande.
One bite or another.
It's just great fun. Gotcha.
And we are back with news of the assassination attempt against President Ronald Reagan that happened on March 30th, 1981. This happened around 2:25 p.m. and President Ronald Reagan was just leaving the Hilton Hotel in Washington, D.C. He had just finished giving a speech to a group of trade unionists. He only had to walk about 30 feet from the hotel door to his waiting car, so, the Secret Services had not think of a bulletproof vest to be necessary. Outside waiting for Reagan were a number of newspapermen, members of the public, and John Hinckley Jr. When Reagan got close to his car, Hinckley pulled out a .22 caliber revolver and fired 6 shots in quick succession. The entire shooting took only 2 or 3 seconds.
President Reagan was hit by one bullet, which punctured his lung, and 3 others were also injured in the shooting. All survived, and John Hinckley Jr. went straight into custody. By all accounts, Reagan remained in good spirits throughout the entire encounter, including making some now famous humorous comments. One of the comments was to his wife, Nancy Reagan. When she came to see him in the hospital, Reagan told her, "Honey, I think I forgot to duck."
Oh, Mr. President. Well, as long as President Reagan is fine and we know Hinckley is in custody, we are all still in pieces, USA.
Now, let's see what the viewers like you think about the unemployment rate.
Good golly, what a way to end the story. We went right into the assassination, into the Ronald Reagan jokes right after. USA Today, I'm actually here at Mr. James's house, and we're going to go right into the house, and I'm going to knock on the door. He's a regular, just U.S. citizen, just like the rest of you guys. We're going to try the doorbell.
Hello, Patty Bell. I've been expecting you. Come on in.
Thanks, come on. Glad to have you with us, Mr. James. Thank you for allowing us to come in. So the unemployment in America, or people without jobs, is gradually decreasing. We have seen an increase in unemployment early on in the past few years, but we have seen that they're beginning to decrease. As the Cold War continues, unemployment rates are decreasing, most likely due to the U.S. military spending. And I remember you said your wife was in the military. The unemployment rate peaked is probably around 10.8%, which is the highest since the Great Depression. And I believe that is just phenomenal. And how does that make you feel?
Knowing that the unemployment in America is decreasing is rather reassuring. Many of my family and friends have lost their jobs over the past few years, but lately, some of them have told me they found a new job.
That's great. Economists say we're seemingly going through a form of structural unemployment, which is a form of unemployment where at a given wage, the quantity of the labor supplied exceeds the quantity of the labor demanded. Because there's a fundamental mismatch between the number of people who want to work and the number of jobs that are available.
is accurate. It's hard out here to finding a job that 100 other people also want and are trying to get. I believe that the government should create more jobs and we all will be fine again.
That's much easier said than done. Thank you for your time, Mr. James. Now back to you, USA Today.
All right. Unemployment in America. The number or proportion of unemployed people. We have seen an increase in unemployment early on this past few years, but as we see, they are beginning to decrease.
As the Cold War continues, unemployment rates are decreasing, most likely due to military spending. That unemployment rate peak, the highest point between the end of the economic expansion and the start of the contraction in business cycle, is peaking to 10.8%, which is the highest since the Great Depression.
Now, with all these people without jobs, I wonder how that affects our economy.
And astrology will be our subject. More news for you about the USA when we come back.
Before I met Lenny, he had no style. I mean, his idea of a fashion statement was a t-shirt that said, "I'd rather be bowling." So I took him to Payless for shoes. They have all the latest styles, and at Payless prices, we can still afford to teach him how to dress. Next week, we have to teach him how to eat.
What? Payless Shoe Stores. You could pay more, but why?
Welcome back. Now your last question about how the unemployment rates may affect our economy. Well, let's just say it's not pretty.
Aren't we in the second decline of the U.S. economy?
As we know it as a recession, which is the significant decline in economic activity spread across the economy, lasting more than a few months, normally visible in real GDP, real income, employment, industrial use, industrial production, and wholesale retail, started a few years behind as a result of the Federal Reserve's contractionary monetary policy, which is one of the ways the U.S. government attempts to control the economy. This plan declares a high inflation.
The recession signified a savings and loan crisis, which was caused by allowing institutions to lend out much more money than they could afford to pay back to customers if they came to withdraw their money. Even though this is a severe recession, we hope that this monetary policy will serve its intended purpose of restoring price stability. Because if it doesn't, boy oh boy, USA, we are in trouble.
Well, I wouldn't say big trouble. Our strong economy was producing lots of revenue to the government, cutting the debt from 15 years ago before the military budget was cut from 1945. Now that Ronald Reagan is elected, the GDP, which is the total value of goods produced and services provided in a country during 1 year, is about $2.79 trillion, and the debt was 32.6% of GDP.
You are very correct, Deshae Hughes. Now let's talk astronomy. Have you heard of ET yet?
Are you talking about E.T., the extraterrestrial? Of course. It was a hit from the day. It was released June 11th, 1982, and it's quickly becoming one of the most beloved movies of the time.
Yes, my kids just loved it. The movie E.T. was about a 10-year-old boy, Elliot, which was played by Henry Thomas. He did a great job. Who befriended a little lost alien named E.T. and did his best to hide him from the adults. Soon, Elliot's two siblings, I don't know his name. Gertie, yes, that's what it was, played by Drew Barrymore, and Michael, played by Robert McNaughton, discovered E.T.'s existence and helped.
Now don't spoil it for those who haven't seen it yet. That was just a preview, USA. If you haven't seen it, go ahead and take your kids out this weekend and watch this amazing movie in theaters near you.
Well, that's it, USA. I'm Destiny Charles.
And I'm Deshae Hughes.
And this is USA.